Hey there, folks. Today is Saturday, the 21st of March, and things are bad right now for many reasons. Obviously, what was going on in Minnesota is terrible. A lot of things are still horrifying there. People are still in hiding, and now remote learning has been suspended. So a lot of the children who were in hiding in their homes are now being forced outside. And while they're talking about children being, quote, allowed to go back to school, it's not being addressed the amount of mental harm done to a person when they're living in hiding from a neo-fascist force. Because these children have been doing their best to stay out of custody, because people inside of custody of these agencies are ending up SA'd. There's ample evidence of children being SA'd by the guards at these facilities and while in custody of these agencies. And it's horrible. It's horrible. Now they have these blue butterfly wards where they're keeping little girls away from everybody else. They can't have access to their family or legal access or access to medical professionals or oversight. Only federal guards can access these young girls, and they're testing positive for pregnancy. So we know what's happening to these children while they're in detention, and it's terrible. It's terrible. Nobody should have to suffer those indignities, whether in custody of the state or not. But if you understand what's being done to the people in the watermelon country with administrative detention is a process that allows for indefinite detention without warrant or cause. Sound familiar? Indefinite detention without warrant or cause. And the people who are inside of these facilities overseas, in Tel Aviv or wherever they have them, they're terrible. Also, the prison guards who were on video recorded with shields and a knife doing SA to a man behind their shields to try and conceal what they were doing. They just had all of their charges dropped. In essence, telling the prison guards in Israel that they can do that to prisoners without any consequences. And again, the reason I even mention that is because of a term called administrative detention. If you look up administrative detention, Israel, you're in for an eyeful. It basically says that people can be subject to indefinite detention without warrant or cause, and there are many, many people who have never been charged with a thing who are being held and tortured and having their lives taken from them in custody. And now that's happening here. These people in our own country are being taken without warrant or cause. They're being vanished into these facilities, and the most horrific things are being done to them. I don't know if you remember the last time I went live, there was a group of vehicles that went by me. I still have to go back through and clip it, but there were two unmarked Ford Interceptors and one enormous Ford pickup truck that went zooming past me. And, you know, for all intents and purposes, that could have been the feds. You know, it's terrifying to me. It's terrifying to me because, again, they've already come for me based purely on what I thought and what would appear to be protected speech, not any kind of criminal act, not any terms of service violation, simply words that they did not agree with, that they thought could be construed as being a crime. Fortunately for me, by the time that they were going for me in 2020, there already was in place a system where judges had oversight. Now judges don't even have the ability to intervene the way they did before because the feds just ignore the judges. The judges have their say, and then the feds completely ignore whatever it is the feds have to say, or whatever the judges have to say. You know, and like I was saying in my previous live, that is the definition of a constitutional crisis, because you have a federal agency that has thrown aside the rule of law where the judiciary is concerned, and there are three co-equal branches: the judiciary, the legislative, and the executive, and they don't have greater or lesser power. They're co-equal. And you know, these agencies, they're so-called administering our immigration law, what they're actually doing is ethnic cleansing, and we need to be clear about that. They have purposefully chosen to do ethnic cleansing. That's what's happening in the United States right now. And we have to be clear-eyed and honest about it, because they're about to escalate things. They've ordered things like warheads and incinerators, and they're making these enormous investments in concentration camp warehouses. They want to warehouse people. And now the FBI has an advisory saying to their own law enforcement that they know there are people who are impersonating them, that they know there are people who are dressing up as if they're federal agents, as if they're ICE agents, and kidnapping people. They know that. They want to be on the lookout for that themselves. So, you know, things are bad in the US. I need to reiterate that the feds, the FBI, has acknowledged in a bulletin, an interagency bulletin, that they're concerned about people impersonating ICE agents and kidnapping people. The feds are now concerned about it. So, I don't know if you understand the glacial speed that the federal government moves at, but if they're concerned about it now, if they're offering their bulletins about it now, then it's been an ongoing problem for a long time. It takes them forever to get to the point where something that is a clear problem, they'll even say is somewhat of an issue. But now they're saying that it's an actual problem. So, you know, the things are bad. There are people, the feds are acknowledging that there are people impersonating them in order to kidnap people. So, you know, we've got to do something different if we're going to somehow somehow get through this. We've got to do things differently. There's plenty of evidence of what comes next. I'm not just kind of some kind of bumbling idiot here. I have a pretty good idea of what I'm talking about. Things are going to escalate dangerously from here. Guys, I have to let you go. I'm gonna go do some compulsory capitalism and do a little bit of investing of my hard-earned money into capitalist ventures, so shareholders can make yacht payments and enjoy their fragua.